Why do some teams run toward problems while others run for cover? It's not talent, it's trust. Today on Insibook, we're unpacking Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last, a field guide to building teams that brave the hard things because they feel safe together. In the next few minutes, you'll learn how to create a circle of safety where people speak up, take smart risks, and watch each other's backs. We'll translate brain chemistry into leadership moves, less cortisol-fueled fear, more oxytocin-powered trust, and show practical habits you can start this week. Protect your people before your metrics, take blame and share credit, set simple rituals that make safety visible, and design incentives that reward we over me. If your team feels burned out, quiet, or siloed, don't skip. By the end, you'll have a clear playbook to turn a stressed crowd into a committed crew, so results rise because people do. Ready to lead the kind of team others want to join? Pull up a chair. Leaders eat last. The scene is simple. In a Marine Corps chow hall, junior Marines move through the line first. Senior officers wait with empty trays until everyone else has eaten. No one makes speeches about servant leadership, no posters hang on the wall. The ritual is the lesson. Leaders accept the smallest portion and the last seat because their real job is not to be served, but to make sure the people in their care are able to do their jobs and come home safe. That small act, repeated across thousands of meals, teaches something larger than manners. It teaches that authority exists to protect, not to be protected, that power is a responsibility to shoulder, not a privilege to indulge, and that trust is earned by sacrifice. From that point of view, a team's performance is less about the brilliance of individuals than about the quality of the environment that surrounds them. When people feel safe among their peers and protected by those above them, they naturally share information, ask for help, and take the kinds of risks creative problem-solving requires. When they feel exposed and alone, watched for mistakes, measured only by numbers, easily discarded, cooperation narrows, courage shrinks, and the very behaviors leaders want most begin to evaporate. The central task of leadership is therefore to build what feels like a circle of safety, an inner boundary inside which people believe that their well-being is defended, their dignity is respected, and their contributions matter. Outside that circle lie the inevitable pressures of the world: competition, chaos, uncertainty. Inside it, people can afford to give their best because they are no longer wasting energy guarding their backs. Biology helps explain why this works. Human bodies carry a quiet chemical parliament that votes on our behavior all day long. Some signals push us toward individual achievement, others bind us to one another. Endorphins dull pain so we can push through effort. Dopamine rewards achievement, lighting up when we complete a task, hit a target, or collect a like. These are useful. They pushed our ancestors to hunt longer distances and make better tools. But left unchecked, dopamine turns us into chasers of hits, metrics for the sake of metrics, until the goal replaces the purpose. Different chemicals do a different kind of work. Serotonin is the pride chemical, the warm surge when a trusted leader calls your name and thanks you in front of the group, or when you do the same for someone else. Oxytocin is the bonding chemical, released in trust, touch, and time together. It is what you feel when a colleague defends you in a meeting, when a mentor walks with you in a hard season, when a team survives a crisis and comes out closer. And then there is cortisol, the stress chemical that floods the system when we feel threatened. Cortisol sharpens attention for sudden danger, but as a steady diet, it corrodes judgment, suppresses empathy, and primes us to protect ourselves first. The difference between good and bad leadership shows up in this chemistry. When leaders fixate on short-term metrics, stoke chronic anxiety, and treat people as a cost to be minimized, cortisol rules. People hoard information, inflate results, retreat into blame, and look for exits. When leaders design environments where trust is normal, generosity is rewarded, and dignity is guarded, serotonin and oxytocin rise. People volunteer ideas, admit errors faster, look for ways to help, and stay through hard quarters because they believe the organization will stay with them. The very behaviors commonly wished for in slide decks, innovation, collaboration, resilience, are not instructions to be enforced. They are byproducts of safety. Bad apples are often blamed when things go wrong, but rotten barrels create more rotten apples than the other way around. Put decent people into a high-threat, high-pressure environment that rewards self-protection, and you will get selfish behavior. Put ordinary people into a high-trust environment that rewards service and honesty, and you will get extraordinary behavior. That doesn't absolve anyone of responsibility, it puts responsibility where it belongs. Leaders are accountable for the barrel. If the culture encourages people to trade long-term health for short-term wins, to celebrate the heroics that fix yesterday's neglect, to hide problems to avoid blame, the leader owns those incentives and the outcomes they produce. Changing the culture is less about slogans than about daily choices that move fear down and trust up. The circle of safety is not a feeling conjured by speeches. It is a practice built with repeated visible acts. It looks like a manager who takes the blame when a project slips and then privately coaches the team on what to do differently next time. It looks like a senior executive who cancels a flashy initiative because it would require layoffs that violate a promise made during a downturn. It looks like a department head who protects thinking time, shields the team from needless noise, and insists that no one is punished for raising early warnings. It looks like leaders who tell the truth about challenges, not to create panic, but to invite the kind of honesty that leads to real solutions. It looks like the smallest gestures that tell the nervous system the truth. You are safe here. The opposite of safety is abstraction. When people become numbers on a spreadsheet, empathy fades. When customers are reduced to units moved, their stories no longer matter. When layoffs are seen as a normal tool rather than a last resort, trust is the first casualty and performance soon follows. Abstraction makes it easier to do things we would hesitate to do face-to-face. It's why email courage so often exceeds in-person courage, and why a culture that manages only by dashboards drifts into decisions that feel efficient and end up being cruel. The cure for abstraction is proximity. Leaders who spend time with their people see more than metrics: fatigue in the eyes, a small triumph, no spreadsheet records, a risk someone took for the team. Proximity restores names to numbers and context to outcomes. Decisions get better because the data set becomes human again. The most reliable sources of trust are not grand visions but small, consistent sacrifices. When a leader gives up credit and passes it down, the team remembers. When a leader shares bad news early and stands beside the people who must implement hard changes, the team remembers. When a leader uses authority to broaden someone else's opportunity instead of protecting their own turf, the team remembers. Over time, those memories become a prediction. In the next hard moment, this person will show up for us. Once that prediction settles in, people will run through walls for a leader, not because they were told to, but because reciprocity is wired into us. If you would risk for me, I will risk for you. Trust is not blind tolerance. A circle of safety is not a circle of softness. The same environment that protects people from fear also demands accountability. When someone violates the values that make safety possible, deception, cruelty, chronic selfishness, leaders must act, and act quickly, for the sake of everyone else. Standards are kind when they are clear and consistently enforced. The alternative is a slow, demoralizing drift in which the conscientious carry extra weight while the worst behavior writes the cultural rules. A healthy culture is warm and firm at the same time. It gives second chances the way a mentor does, paired with high expectations and honest feedback, because people are not disposable and potential is rarely visible on first pass. If the biology sets the stage and culture writes the script, rituals keep the play running. Teams that break bread together trust each other more. Regular face-to-face check-ins beat long email threads at resolving conflict. Celebrations that mark collective effort, not only individual heroics, teach people that contribution is seen even when it doesn't spike a metric. Mentorship programs that pair senior and junior people transmit not just skills but norms. Even the language leaders choose matters. My people can be possessive in the wrong mouth, but in a steward's mouth it signals responsibility. Our people is better still. Dignity is protected in simple ways. Leaders show up on time, they listen without their phone on the table, they learn and use names, they offer credit with specificity so that recognition feels real. The modern workplace tempts leaders to trade relationships for results by dangling fast rewards. Quarterly targets, shareholder pressure, dashboards that pulse, rankings that shuffle weekly, all of it pushes dopamine buttons. Short hits feel good, long health is quiet. The job is to resist becoming a dopamine organization. That doesn't mean abandoning performance, it means choosing metrics that serve people and purpose rather than the other way around. It means preferring repeatable systems over heroic saves, building slack into schedules so that emergencies remain rare, and treating vacation as maintenance rather than as a perk. It means remembering that growth purchased by burning out the people who create it is counterfeit growth. In crisis, the true character of leadership appears. When demand collapses, when supply chains snarl, when a mistake mushrooms into public embarrassment, the temptation is to let fear dictate. Some leaders cut first and ask questions later, managing anxiety by offloading it onto the people below them. Others tighten the circle of safety precisely when external threats are greatest. They share the truth of the situation, invite ideas from all levels, cut from the top first, and search for alternatives to permanent harm. Teams remember those choices for years. Many will stay for years because of how they were treated in one bad quarter. The way leaders speak about competition shapes how teams feel about risk. There is a difference between treating rivals as enemies who must be crushed and treating them as worthy competitors who push us to be better. The former stance narrows focus and invites corners to be cut. The latter preserves standards and pride. Inside the walls, competition for status is corrosive. Competition to uphold values is galvanizing. A leader who recognizes effort, improvement, and cooperation alongside outcomes tells the nervous system that people are valued for more than their latest number. Technology complicates leadership by creating speed without connection. Messages can travel instantly, trust cannot. Remote teams can build safety too, but only if leaders compensate for what distance removes. That means creating deliberate moments of human contact, strengthening mentoring, ensuring that cameras occasionally capture more than a forehead and a spreadsheet, and recognizing that written words lack the warmth and nuance of voice and presence. It means remembering that silence on a call can be thoughtfulness rather than disengagement, and that performance dips might be fear in disguise. The burden of interpretation falls on the leader, the benefit of the doubt flows downward. Generations enter the workforce with different expectations, but the fundamentals do not change. People want to belong, they want to grow, they want to be proud of the place where they work and the way it treats others. Younger employees raised in a world of constant feedback and curated images bring both gifts and challenges. They hunger for meaning and mentorship. They are also more exposed to comparison and to the dopamine loops of devices. Leaders can offer meaning by tying tasks to purpose, mentorship by investing time without condescension, and healthier chemistry by encouraging real connection over performative metrics. The remedy for impatience isn't scolding, it's modeling craft and celebrating progress while slowing the habit of constant public ranking. The metaphor of the shield wall is a useful one. In ancient phalanxes, each soldier's shield didn't protect his own body, it protected the person to his left. Security was communal by design. Workplaces that adopt that posture thrive in hard weather. Colleagues speak up when someone is sliding toward burnout. Teams cover for a parent whose child is sick without grudging ledger keeping. Leaders defend their people in public and correct them in private. Decisions are explained to the degree possible so rumors don't fill the vacuum. The shield wall holds not because anyone is perfect, but because everyone knows what the shields are for. When leaders fail, it is often because they confuse being in charge with leading people. Positional power can force compliance, it cannot command loyalty. Leaders eat last not because they enjoy hunger, but because they understand sequence. Look after the people, and the people will look after the numbers. Look after the numbers at the expense of the people, and the numbers will eventually go where neglected people go. The payoff for getting the sequence right is not just better morale or lower turnover, it is adaptability, the capacity to respond to the unexpected without fracturing. In a stable world, you can run an organization on fear for a while. In an unstable world, fear makes you brittle. Trust makes you flexible. The habits that sustain this posture are within reach of anyone, at any level. Start by noticing, where are people spending energy protecting themselves from you? Where do they look nervous when you enter the room? Where do you see heroics patching holes rather than systems preventing the holes? Then make a small sacrifice in public, cancel a meeting so a team can make a child's recital, take responsibility for a miss you could have pushed down, share a problem early and invite help rather than springing it as a surprise after people have no runway. Recognize someone specifically for a quiet act that kept others safe. Invest in an extra seat at the table for the next discussion so a junior voice can be heard and mentored. These are not grand gestures. They are the meals in which leaders eat last. Over time, themes repeat. Safety begets courage. Courage begets learning. Learning begets performance. Performance, stewarded well, begets trust, which begets more safety. The flywheel turns. Whenever the wheel slows, you can usually find cortisol creeping back in, targets used as cudgels rather than guides, gossip replacing feedback, secrecy breeding stories. The fix is not motivational posters, it is a return to the fundamentals. Protect people first, then ask for what the mission requires. Rebuild rituals, reset incentives, get close enough to see what the numbers are missing. Remind yourself what your authority is for. The image of a leader at the back of the line is not a romance, it is a manual. People are not a means to your next rung. They are the reason the organization exists at all. Treat them that way, and the chemicals that drive trust and pride will become the quiet engine in the room. Ignore that biology in favor of a dashboard, and you will get compliance without commitment until the day pressure rises and the whole machine rattles apart. If you want people to say we instead of they, give them a leader who goes last at lunch and first into the hard conversations, who takes blame before credit and gives credit before rewards, who shields others from the storm and insists that those others shield one another. In a world that often celebrates the loudest voice and the fastest win, the power of this approach can be easy to miss because it is so ordinary, but ordinary is the point. 1,000 small protections add up to a home where people do their best work. 1,000 small abandonments add up to a place where fear lives and talent leaves. The difference is the person with the tray at the end of the line, deciding again today to serve first and eat later, to build the circle a little wider, to make sure everyone is fed before themselves.